Hi everybody, my name is Dakotah and I'm a mindfulness-based art therapist. On this channel we explore simple, reflective art exercises you can do on your own time to connect with yourself a little more deeply. For today's session, you might want a piece of paper or a journal, something to draw or color with, and a quiet-ish space where you can just spend a few minutes with yourself. And just as a reminder before we begin, there are no mistakes in this kind of art. This isn't about making something impressive or beautiful. The only real guideline is this. The right way to do this is the way that feels true to your experience. Your page might look completely different than mine, and that's exactly how it should be. Let's start by arriving. If it feels comfortable, place your feet on the floor and bring your attention to your breath. We'll take 3 slow breaths together. Nothing to change. Nothing to fix. Just arriving. Nice. So today we're exploring something many people quietly wonder about. The difference between how we experience ourselves on the inside and how we might be perceived by others. Whether we think about it or not, we're always being interpreted by the people around us. People notice our energy. They form impressions. They create their own understanding of who we are. But today's exercise isn't about trying to manage other people's opinions. Instead, it's about building awareness and discernment. When we understand both perspectives, our inner experience and the ways we might come across, we gain the ability to decide what actually fits us and what doesn't. All right, so if you're ready, we're going to take your paper and we're going to divide it into 2 sections. One side will represent how I see myself. The other side will represent how I might be perceived by others. There's no right layout here. Just give yourself 2 spaces to work with. I'll be drawing along with you, so we're doing this together. So let's begin with the side that represents how you experience yourself internally. Think about your personality, your emotional tone, your energy. You might be someone who feels calm, layered, intense, quiet, playful, steady, or changing. And instead of trying to describe that with words, we're going to use color. If your inner self had a color or a combination of colors, what might it be? Start placing those colors on the page in a way that feels natural. As you're choosing colors, you might gently notice, what made me reach for this color? Was it immediate, or did I have to think about it? You might also wonder Does this color represent something that people easily see in me? Or something that feels more private? No need to analyze too much. Just keep letting your hand move. And remember, there's no need to be perfect. Sometimes the most meaningful pages look messy or look a little unexpected. It's just part of the process. All right. If words want to be added besides your colors, you could write a simple sentence like, this color represents this part of me because, but it's completely optional. All right. Looks crazy to me, but we're going to shift to the second side of your page. This side explores something slightly different. This is how others might experience you. Not who you truly are on the inside, but the impression you might give off. You might ask yourself, when I walk into a room, what energy do I think people notice first? What do people tend to comment on about me? What parts of my personality seem most visible to others? Using color again, begin adding whatever feels like it represents that perception. As you work, you might notice, do these colors feel accurate? Do they just feel like a perception that has nothing to do with me? You might also notice if these colors feel at all similar to the first side or completely different. And remember, this exercise isn't about proving anything. It's simply about noticing. And remember, just because something is perceived doesn't necessarily mean it's true. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video and come back to this point when you're ready. But when you feel ready, take a step back and look at both sides of your page. Your internal experience and the way that you imagine you might be perceived. Just notice what stands out. You might gently ask yourself, what feels aligned between these two? Is there anything that surprises me? Is there anything here that actually doesn't feel like me at all? And so, this is where the idea of discernment begins. Because throughout life, we receive feedback about ourselves directly and sometimes indirectly. But not all feedback is meant to be taken in. And not all of it needs to be rejected either. Discernment is the skill of pausing and asking, is this actually about me? Is this accurate or just someone's perspective? Does this feedback support the person I'm becoming? And you don't have to answer these questions right away, but just noticing them is a part of the work. Before we finish, you might want to write a short reflection beside your page. You could complete one of these sentences. Something I noticed about myself today is. A difference between how I see myself and how others might see me is. One thing I'm learning about feedback is. Or simply just sit with whatever came up during this exercise today. As we close, we're going to take one more slow breath. And just notice how you feel now compared to when we started. There's no need to judge the picture we created. Remember, this kind of art isn't about getting it pretty or getting it right. It's about allowing your experience to show up honestly. And that's something only you can know. If you feel comfortable sharing, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments. Maybe you could share something simple like what colors showed up for you today, or whether the two sides of your pages felt similar or completely different. If you enjoy reflective, creative exercises like this, you're welcome to subscribe. I'll be sharing more sessions you can return to whenever you need a quiet space to reconnect with yourself. Thank you for spending this time creating with me. I'll see you in the next one.